So I'm going to actually talk about a course that I teach at my university in Hong Kong. And the way this course was developed, it rests on these conceptual underpinnings. And I looked at it in terms of the learner and the teacher. And from the learner, I use this concept of vertical and horizontal learning. It's Basil Bernstein's work. I also look at learner autonomy, which is a large area of my own research that I've done in the past. From the teaching, I look at content-based instruction. And I also use a progressive pedagogy. And some of these terms have been coming up already in the talks in the seminar over the past day and a half. And so they won't be that surprising and new for you, I think. But I'll very briefly explain what they are to me. So vertical and horizontal learning relies on the fact that very often in our structured syllabus design, we rely on what's on the left-hand side, the vertical side, and it's a way of a building block approach to gathering information or knowledge from the teacher. And it could be described as a teacher-centered approach to education, perhaps. But when you bring in the horizontal learning, then that's all about the learner. And here we're looking at the learner's own personal experiences, her opinions about things, her life history as a learner, the beliefs and values that she has, and the street credibility of the learner. So when you begin infusing these elements of the learner's experience into the structure of your course, then you get a much richer learning environment for the learner and the teacher. And I hope to be able to illustrate some of that from the comments my students have made to me about my course. So this is what we talk about as the vertical and horizontal learning environments. Learner autonomy, which I think many of you will now be quite familiar with, relies on these kinds of ideas. These are three definitions which are quite well known. The first two coming from Olek and Little are very well known. The third one is from Lenny Dam and her associates, including David Little there. And I'll just pick out some key words for you. So the first one says, take more control. That premises the fact that learners already have control of some of their learning. And so what we're doing here is that we're giving them the opportunity to have a little bit more say in their learning and more control of their learning environment. They also have the capacity, they've got the ability to do this, so we've just got to give them the environment where this is encouraged. But Lenny Dam's definition looks at learner autonomy as being a social process. So it's not an educational goal or something that we do to learners, it's part of our daily lives anyway. Learners have to become active in their learning, active interpreters. Also, this highlights the fact that learners have unique knowledge quite often that the teacher doesn't have. And we're also focusing on the how to learn, not the what to learn, with a learner autonomy approach. So these kind of key concepts have to come into the course design as well. Content-based instruction is not new. It's been around for a long, long time. You can see it very easily in ESP courses, where the content dictates the learning, basically, right? We see it in English across the curriculum, where English is used to teach biology and history and other things in second language contexts. And we see it in these immersion programs, especially in Canada and America, where they've been very successful in creating bilingual learning environments for the learners at school, very young children very often. So the content-based instruction is something else that we use in this course development. And then the content-based courses, if you look at them a little bit more carefully, you can divide them into these three levels. And I'll very briefly talk about the thematic-based course, but the one that I'm really going to focus on is the third one, the content-based course today. But as you can see, if you have a thematic-based course, then it's really the focus on language learning. You're using the content for language learning, and you have simplified types of material. If you go down to the content-based course, it's usually total immersion in the content, and we're using authentic materials. The focus is definitely not on language learning. A progressive pedagogy is this. I'm not going to go into too much detail, just to highlight to you, which I'm sure a lot of you will understand what it is already. It's a non-traditional type of learning. And so some features are that learners are active in their learning, teachers are more facilitators rather than givers of information, decision is from group upwards, knowledge is constructed through experience. You don't have to have all of these in the red for progressive pedagogy, but some of them help. A little bit more disciplines are integrated into progressive pedagogy. The skills are related to the content. Right? We're looking at more intelligence and measured by life problem solving skills rather than linguistic abilities. So the progressive pedagogy relies again on giving a lot of responsibility to the learners and engaging these learners in their learning rather than the teacher making all the decisions in the classroom.